Okay. Is it that simple, simplifying things, Charles Robinson? That's question one. Question two, I ask somewhat tongue in cheek,
Mhm.
but is it too late and too expensive to still trade Rodgers? Because the Packers could have done bad all by themselves.
Yeah, the cap hit. I'm pretty certain that his cap hit is actually larger than
Prohibitive.
the entire cap. I think literally if they cut everyone, they could
Right.
trade him at this point.
Right.
Um,
But you understand the sentiment, though. It's like they bring it
yeah,
back to be 3-3.
yeah. I don't know. I don't think you don't invest the money in that contract to be in the situation that you're in right now. 3-3, struggling, and to be fair, not just offensively, even
Oh, the
defensively.
defense is terrible.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
special
mean,
teams. Yeah.
it's a team that is still trying to figure out how to play run defense. They break down. There's miscommunication. They're breaking down at inopportune times. But then offensively, the focal point obviously becomes Rodgers, and it becomes the passing game because you had Devontae Adams who leaves, and then you sit there and go, okay, well, that's
Run the ball.
subtraction. This was right. And you have a deep backfield. You have two backs, obviously, that can run the ball. I think more. Okay, first off, he was sacked 4 times in this game. That's the second time this season he's been sacked 4 times. He was sacked 4 times in the opener against Minnesota. They lost that game too. You have to go back, I think, a couple years to find a season in which he was sacked 4 times or more twice in a season. I think that last happened like 3 years ago. So I do think protection is a little bit of an issue, but at the end of the day, when he talks about simplifying things, the way I read it, the second I heard it was, this is a wide receiver issue. This is a
Oh, yeah.
we've got guys that maybe we need to engineer. When he talks about confidence, for example, to me, that's a quarterback saying, let's try to engineer some easy completions for these guys. Let's try and get them to a point where when we do go deeper, we have the deeper stuff, which, by the way, deeper routes necessitate better protection because it takes time for those routes to develop. You have to have protection. You have to have players who know how to run the deep routes and then have the confidence to go and catch a ball. He doesn't have to put it in a perfect window every single time for it to be catchable. I think it's obvious. I think what we expected to happen is actually happening, and nobody should really be surprised by it. And if they want to remedy it, there's the route he just talked about. We'll get better as we go on. We'll become more cohesive. Guys will learn their roles, and we can solve it organically. Or you can also look at the trade deadline. Yeah, I mean, look, they were involved in OBJ, right? Like, I think that was the second place team when OBJ went to the Rams. I think Green Bay was the second place team. So if OBJ is healthy, and they're confident, I mean, he's not healthy now, but if they're confident he's going to be healthy in that window of mid to late November, maybe that's the trade you look at the deadline. Or I'm sorry,
right,
not a
yeah,
trade.
okay.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I apologize.
Acquisition.
An acquisition.
Oh, no,
yeah,
we knew
and
what
they
you
don't.
meant. Yeah, we knew.
Yeah,
we knew
yeah.
what you
I'm
meant.
sorry.
You're good.
Okay,
You're good.
look. Okay, all that being said about OBJ or somebody else. I saw Robbie Anderson was traded today already to Arizona. All right, this all sounds good. Charles, I've heard of teams that historically have not been able to get their defense together for multiple years. Under Sean Payton, the Saints were like that for multiple years. I've never seen a team that has struggled on special teams in multiple like 2, 3, 4 years, like the Green Bay Packers. So you can talk about wide receivers all you want. What's going on with the Packers? They bring in Rich Bisaccia, special teams coach, looks good for a while, and then it falls apart yesterday. I'm just wondering what's happening with the team. Is it deeper than the wide receivers? Is what I'm getting at.
I think I'm dumbfounded. You bring in someone of that experience, of that, who has that resume, and you think you would clean up things. But, and if it's not, as you said, they went through kicking woes at times with Mason Crosby, stuck with him, rode it out. Now it's punting woes. I just lean on when I came into the league and I was covering the NFL. Chuck Prefer was the special teams coach for the Detroit Lions, and he told me something that I think is true now 20 years later, and it'll be true 40 years later and 60 years later. It's small, simple things, players just doing, it's the most basic of jobs. Get in the way, stay in the way. That's it. Get in the way, stay in the way. And when you have breakdowns where, whether it's a young and inexperienced player, whatever it is, it only needs to be one person who does not get in the way, does not stay in the way, and it breaks down. I don't think it's scheme. It's not. You have the coach, right? You're not sitting there going, well, geez, he doesn't have the track record to get this right. No, it's just details and players understanding exactly what they're supposed to do. And I don't want to say that that's something that Rodgers was speaking to when it comes down to simplification, but special teams to me is so clearly just a small detail and effort job. Like that's really what it's always been about in the NFL.
Well, and this story, I mean, obviously Rodgers is one of the marquee names in the league, but this game, I think we'd all agree, should probably be more about the New York Jets and Robert Saleh's receipts looking pretty valuable at this point.
Too early, though. Too early. Too early to be talking about receipts, so.
Is it? Because it wasn't too early. It wasn't too early to crack on them. But I want to get a 2-for-1 here with you, Charles, if I could. Between the Jets and the Giants, a combined 9-3. New York, big city of dreams. Yeah. Is everything in New York exactly what it seems? Like, do these teams have staying power? I mean, or is this just really good stories? I think last week, Charles, on Monday, I think I said to you, the Giants felt like a good story more than a good team.
Right.
You can't keep winning and you're not a good team. Maybe it's all day ball. The Jets, they're no joke. I mean, they are a legitimate, competitive, organized outfit. So your read on both these New York teams.
Okay, so I'm going to pull up real quick. I think we got to go to the schedules here. So I'm going to do this right now, right? All right, when you look at
play who's in front of you.
I understand that, but there's an element of quality here, right? Okay, so when you look at the Giants, they've beaten Tennessee, Carolina, Chicago, a Green Bay team that has exhibited some problems, a Baltimore team that has exhibited some problems. I think when you look at how they're doing things, the investment on the defensive line, we talked about that, and the fact that you're running the ball well, I think playing defense well up front and being able to run the ball well can smooth out a lot of things and win you some games. I would suggest, though, that even at 5-1, that doesn't speak to how they stack up against teams that aren't necessarily having problems. Now, the good news is there aren't many of those teams in the NFL. Basically, there are 3 teams in the NFL right now that I would say are the top 3 that are maybe they have problems, but they're minute.
Two of them played yesterday.
Pretty good, though.
Two of them played yesterday.
Look at it going forward.
Bills and Chiefs. Bills and Chiefs and Eagles.
Look at the schedule going forward.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. And so Michael, as Michael says, look at the schedule going forward. Not a lot of world beaters there, okay? Like Jacksonville's got, issues. Seattle, I would say, is playing well right now, and they've got good quarterback play, but it's a team that the Giants should be able to compete with. Houston, Detroit, Dallas is what they are. You look at that, and to me, let's just say, could they go 500, right, the rest of the way, or a game over 500? Yeah. I think they could.
You're right there.
I don't think that's inconceivable. Now, conversely, so I would say that there's some legitimacy to the Giants as long as they're healthy and they continue to play defense up front. I would say that it's a team that in this NFC, in this season, can probably surprise us a little bit and do some things that maybe we didn't think were possible. Now flip it to the Jets. Okay. So they lost to Baltimore to open it. They've got wins over Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Miami, and Green Bay. The Miami situation, we know what the quarterback situation is with Miami. It's been a mess. I would say Green Bay is the quality win right now. That said, the Jets are running the ball. They're playing defense better than they've played all season long. They're playing with energy. What worries me is Zach Wilson. It's a game where you're going to get into quarterback games, right? Quarterback-driven games.
Right.
And right now, it's not a quarterback-driven team. It just isn't.
Right.
Yeah,
I would take. I know it sounds crazy. I mean, some people wouldn't agree with this just based on. I would take Daniel Jones right now over Zach Wilson because Daniel Jones.
Wow.
No, I would
has,
too. But to your point, it's not saying much. Right.
Okay, right. It's not.
Yeah,
but I would
agree
say
with
from
you.
the experience standpoint, and by the way, having a player who's playing dominant at the running back position right now.
Yeah.
I think that tandem is. And now, hey, by the way, the Jets, their running back depth chart looking pretty good. Brees Hall looks like he's a player. Michael Carter,
he's looking pretty damn good.
I think football is back in New York because you know what?
That's what's most important.
Yes, at the very least, both teams there are building blocks.
Both teams play hard,
and there's energy and there's building blocks, and to me, that's enough. Even if these aren't playoff teams, it is a step in the right direction, which is saying something.
Yes. So
both teams play hard, my man.
Both teams play hard. Both teams play hard.
Let me ask you. No,
go ahead,
before
Mike.
you ask that next question, though.
Yeah, no, you got it, Mike.
I want to, because this is my guy. This page. I'm even hesitant to ask the question because I love this guy so much, and I loved him coming out of college. Did the Jets and everybody else miss on Zach Wilson? Do you see what's in? Is there something in there, or is it just, hey man, he ain't got it. He ain't got it.
He doesn't have protection. Okay, like let's be honest. Has the offensive line in front of him protected him adequately during the course of his career? No. Now that said, Joe Flacco had moments there where he started and ran the offense in a managerial style, okay, where you're like, I don't know, the offense looks okay, it looks solid, like it looks workmanlike. Why does Zach Wilson step in and then Garrett Wilson's play? Like under Joe Flacco, you're like, whoa, Garrett Wilson looks like a world beater. Now all of a sudden you're like, well, what's going on? Elijah Moore is non-existent. Well, I can tell you why Elijah Moore is non-existent. If you go and watch the All-22, Elijah Moore runs deep routes, okay? What do deep routes necessitate? Coverage. You're not coverage, protection. You have to protect a quarterback to let a deep route develop. It's just, I don't think Wilson has a ton of time to let deep routes develop. And what is he? He should be a deep route quarterback. You draft him for that arm.
He also does not do simple things well. He doesn't complete gimme passes. Like he has an issue there. He has an issue.
He had that play on Sunday where I'm watching live and like he's rolling to the sideline, trucking, hauling, and I'm like, he clearly is not throwing this because there's no way you can stop and set your feet. And if he throws it, and he threw it into the end zone off of. I mean, it was not a great decision into multiple defenders. Right. He was lucky it didn't get picked. Yeah, you're right. He still is making some decisions that he shouldn't be making.
So let me ask you a couple of. We got at least few more things we want to get to with you here. I'll start with the fact that all four of last year's NFC semifinalists, Niners, Rams, Bucks, and who am I missing? Who's the other one?
Niners, Rams.
Oh, Packers. Bucks. And the Packers we talked about are all 3-3. They're all 3-3. We talked about these pleasant surprises in New York. Who would you classify, either conference, just one, as the most disappointing or confounding, if you will, team through 6 weeks?
Even though it was, it's Baltimore to me, honestly, and it's twofold because, and I know Baltimore, they're 3-3, and people are like, well, how disappointing can that really be? Well, because number one, fundamentally, defensively, Wink Martindale leaves, right, and you swap him out in a situation where you basically lent a young coordinator to the University of Michigan. He got some experience, comes back in the fold. I expected to see some things defensively. Baltimore has, on balance, played extremely poorly on defense. Okay, that's alarming. And then number two, I think what bothers me is, first off, we can stop talking about whether Lamar Jackson is a good pocket passer. He is, okay? Like, if the data supports it, okay? I think going into last week, he was leading the league in touchdown passes from the pocket. He's awesome against the blitz. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL in terms of quarterback rating versus the blitz. But the thing is, he's making small mistakes that are on him. He's sailing balls at times. He's making mistakes of ambition or confidence, overconfidence. For example, throwing, to a blocking tight end, a blocking fullback in the middle of the field, an interception that ends the game. One of the worst interceptions he's probably thrown. And you get frustrated because you're like, he is what's standing in his own way right now. Like, I think he's developed to a point where we can stop with the old tropes about whether or not he's a pocket passer, all these things. He can be that when he needs to be that. I don't think there's any problem. It's just now he's got to make the right decisions at critical times. It went from, it was like, remember the knock was like, he can't come from behind. They're a team that they can't when they're behind. He can't. Now all of a sudden he can't play from ahead. Like, and it's just, it's right. I mean, what happened?
Right.
Like, it's confounding. And so to me, I looked at Baltimore. I had bigger expectations than this. And what's so frustrating to me is it's like these things that I didn't expect the defense to be uncharacteristically bad like this. And Lamar, I thought, was over making these mistakes that are undermining where he truly is as a quarterback. And it's allowing people to continually go back and say these old things that aren't even realistic.
I appreciate that. 2 quickies that are related before we get you out of here, because we got a guest standing by. 1, did everybody, because I got them Thursday night, I got to go all the way to Arizona to watch the damn Cardinals not score points. Did everybody in Arizona's brain trust need a homework clause in his contract? Like, why can't they score points?
I wish I could answer this easily. It's so funny because this is a conversation I was literally just having with the executive. We were talking about the trade deadline and Robbie Anderson getting dealt there. And this executive said to me, he's like, man, this just feels like they're throwing anything against the wall at this point. They're just trying to get anything at all to work. And I don't know. I don't know if it's a Hopkins, a DeAndre Hopkins issue or not. We're going to find that out. And fundamentally, if Hopkins comes in and suddenly the offense, blossoms, or Kyler Murray is just so much more effective, then that tells us a little something about Kyler Murray. I mean, it's an important piece of information. But I just think offensively, they don't look creative. There's not, the only time where you have a chance for like gap plays, big plays, it's Kyler like running around like he's in a video game, and then you're like, wow, okay, now this looks like, but that's okay. Either you're going to commit to this is what we're going to do with him, which is not what they wanted because he kept getting hurt, or you're going to try to run a more fundamental system where he doesn't have to run around to make plays happen, and they don't look functional. I don't know what to tell you. It's wild.
All right. And lastly, you can cue the music, Gary, so we can get out of here. Is Robbie Anderson the first to go in Carolina's fire sale?
I think McCaffrey is there's a real chance that he gets moved now. That I think the asking price is going to be a little high. Like what I was told was they had 2 first-round picks on the table for Christian McCaffrey 2 years ago, and that David Tepper decided he didn't want to take that because he was afraid that the fan base would react badly to them moving him. Yeah. I think that is still in his mind, that there were 2 first-round picks on the table 2 years ago and would still like to get that now.
In another context, yesterday's price ain't today's price. Charles,
right.
Your information is priceless, my friend. Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Charles. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.